Bards. I'm Ann Richmond, aka Hearth Singer, the head bard in charge around these here parts, and you've made it. You've made it here to Hearth Singer Games. Here on this channel, I make tabletop RPG-focused videos and product reviews. I give my tips for running and playing games like Dungeons & Dragons and Starfinder, and of course, I tell a few stories from my own adventures at the table. Like You've Been Crying a Lot is definitely the look for Strahd. And if you stick around long enough, you might hear me burst into song. And don't you dare look away. 'Cause I need you to know I'm gonna go bag that arc fay. At last can rest his weary bones. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. What would I give? Make that you will hear me burst into song. You might also recognize me from over on Twitch, where I embrace the spirit of adventure. Okay. You know who's not gonna go first? The wizard. Oh God! Terror. The little like thing sticking. Oh my God! There is this lucid right there. Oh God! Oh, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go? Oh, God! This is fine. This is fine. This is fine.
And aren't you supposed to, like,
you know what?
And shit?
Okay, put your little mouth away. Put your little mouth away! Let the existential dread creep in. What can I say? I'm a girl who wants to decorate her fake world because she has nothing else to live for. Did I say that out loud?
Away we go.
And roll some dice in some tabletop RPG actual plays.
Do you want to be defined as just identifying things all the time?
No.
How's it feel? How's it feel?
Bad. You make me feel bad. I feel bad.
I also like stars.
Stars are
Me too, says Amaruk, and she comes over and like this big wolf just shrinks down into the little like hunchy thing, like how we used to talk to kids at Ren Fair when we get down with them. And he's like, me too, and it's just the biggest anime grin and sparkle eyes ever. What kind of stars do you like?
Spark twirls the ends of its whiskers.
Yeah.
All of them.
Me too. Oh my God! All in all, I spend my whole life trying to make a boatload of riveting content for you out there, the baby bards. So if any of that sounds up your alley, subscribe to my channel for weekly videos and new adventures beyond every horizon. Welcome to Hearth Singer Games, where I live my quest life. Hey everybody, welcome to Around the Hearth. I'm Ann Richmond, and I'm here with my good friend Emily Floyd to do the talking thing that we do on Fridays about all TTRPG topics. And today's topic is all about why people might want to try dungeon mastering, because Emily is finding herself in that situation right now.
I am. I have never
true.
I've never mastered a dungeon. I've never GM'd before.
I'm not a master of much, but
and the time I've decided in my career as a tabletop RPG player, the time has come for me to get behind the screen.
Wow. I mean, I'm impressed. Now, let me say this to start. We never just start talking about the topic.
No.
That would be insane.
That's not the formula.
That's crazy. So that's like the preview for the show we're going to do. Let's talk about our weeks first. That's typically what we do.
I'm getting some feedback that I am like 10 times louder than you, FYI.
You're 10 times louder?
Approximately
That's
10
not great.
times.
All right.
louder.
Well, let me know if that's better. I turned you up. Literally, we went live, and I was like, "Oh no, Emily's really low." So I turned you all the way up to 11, and that might not have been a great idea. Let me know how those levels are, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, please
Great.
tell us. That's it.
Anyway.
So, how was your week?
My week was good. Very busy. Lots of work, streaming, various activities. It's so interesting how like we are returning to the real world, and that has a lot of complications. And I'm not talking about like the health complications. Like, it is very exciting that like as we're getting fully vaccinated and as things are opening up, we can be more social again.
Totally.
We can go eat in restaurants more safely again. Like, there's things that we can do that open up the possibilities of like how we're spending our evenings and our weekends and all that. But like, also at this point, many of us have adapted to this life of being in our homes and looking at our Zoom screens. So
yeah, no, it's very true.
It's not coming easily, you know, adjusting to a social life again.
Yeah, I got to go to the dog park today for the first time with my dog, and it was interesting being in a shared space with a bunch of strangers. Probably only tolerable by me because we could all focus on the dogs.
Yeah.
I found myself narrating what other dogs were doing.
Well, being a dog owner lets you like cheat at being out in the world.
Social.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed the same sort of thing from Sam, my dog, for anyone who doesn't know or is new in these parts. But Samwise is a puppy, and he finished his round of like rabies and other vaccines that you need to get before your dog can like fully interact with other dogs. And so we just finished that process and had waited the few days and done his like flea and tick medication, and then off to the dog park we went today. And it was funny because he was such a good example of how I feel re-entering the world. Where like, I know he's seen other dogs at a distance. I know he grew up in a pile of puppies before he knew me with his first like 2 months of life, and it's only been like almost 2 months since then. So it's not an eternity ago. But now he like sees other dogs. He recognizes the signs of like, this is an interaction. It's supposed to be happening. But then like those other dogs are like, I'm gonna smell your butt. He's like, whoa, 6 feet, 6 feet. Back it up. And so it's really interesting to watch him like learn and relearn how to navigate social dynamics as I, as a person, am also trying to do that at the same time. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's definitely bizarre, but I think, I don't know, a lot of my creativity, I feel like there's only so much I can do in my house after a while, and I've been turning out so much content and doing so much without inspiration from the outside world, and that I'm really excited to kind of get out there and do a little bit more in the outside world, just to be able to inspire myself as a dungeon master and as a storyteller, and just for content that's weekly. What have you been doing to get back out there with, you know, responsibility, obviously?
Well, first of all, I have begun the task of getting back to 10K steps a day, which, not gonna lie, it's been a long time since I was doing that consistently.
It's really hard.
It was easy to do that when I was working in the city. I mean, it would just kind of happen naturally because of my commute.
Because you walk to the subway, you walk,
but
to lunch.
Now, you know, I work at Roll20, and that company is fully remote. Like, so there's no going back to the office. Like, the work from home setup that I have is what my life will be moving forward, no matter what. But that means that I have to force myself to take breaks like throughout the day. Like, it's either do it in small chunks throughout the day, or I've had a few days this week where like the end of the day approaches, it's like 7 p.m. and I'm like, oh no, I didn't get to go walk today at all. Time to go walk for an hour. Like, that's literally what it's become.
Yeah, honestly, like I used to I used to watch Critical Role and watch some of these other shows, and I've moved to more of a podcast format for any of the actual play content that I listen to, because, you know, that allows me to leave the house and, you know, walk down the street, walk Sam, or go sit in the park or whatever it is. And, you know, I was definitely struggling with some agoraphobia coming out of the pandemic, that I had mild agoraphobia, like a little bit. Like if I was a homebody, right? Like I was perfectly comfortable being at home. But also if somebody was like, hey, let's go out, I wouldn't be like, no. But they would I would have to have something that was, you know, an event that we were doing. And then not having that allowed me to just full on be like, I am a gremlin and I will never see the light of day again. Like, and I just kind of allowed that to be my life for so long that I was like, I fear the day star. No. Anyways, so it's a little bit about me. But yeah, I think it's interesting to set those goals for yourself and like work towards them, like just as little as going for a walk around the block. I remember when I was like tracking my steps all the time, I would be amazed by how many steps I took if I just like walked for one direction in 10 minutes and then walked back in the other direction towards my house. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
You know, there's one more thing that I want to point out about like what's the weird transition here. Chris and I were watching some news stories this morning about like Zoom dysmorphia and the fact that we were all staring at our face all the time. Because, you know, when you're in a normal meeting with colleagues or hanging out with friends in person, you're not looking at yourself. But I don't know, this is normal, right? Like when you're in a Zoom call, your eyes just kind of track on your own face, especially like while you're talking, right? Like it's very hard to, I don't know anyone who goes into like a work video conference that doesn't at least look at their own face, like that just only looks at their coworkers and never at themselves. And I was thinking about that today because there is an element of like, oh my God, I've been staring at my own face for a very long time. And so now there's a lot of news articles about how like, as we're coming out on the other side of this, what are the long-term effects of that? And like, how do we get back to whatever? But again, I work remote all the time. Yeah. This is just
not changing for you.
It's not going to change. It's going to keep happening. And like with all the streaming that we're doing and all of that, like it's a big portion of the day where you're just looking at yourself. How does that make you feel? Like, do you feel weird about it?
Oh, I feel super weird about it. I hate looking inward at my outward appearance at all times. I was having a talk with Matt about it because, like, you know, I'm comfortable with the people that I'm comfortable around. But if I catch sight of myself in a mirror in general, my reaction is to like hiss and run away and fear and terror and what awaits me, or to just be super depressed, right? And I have like pretty severe body dysmorphia anyways. That's why I really like the Facebook call feature, because it allows you to hide your face. So when I'm playing in long D&D games with people that I know our Strahd game uses Facebook, and I love it for that because even though I don't love Facebook Messenger in general, I love the fact that I can hide my face for that reason. And sometimes I had a conversation about this with my boss the other day, the fact that like sometimes it's easier for me to actually listen to what's going on the call if I hide my video and stop wondering if people are looking at me. Like I won't do that if it's, you know, a group of 3 people talking, but if it's like a group of all 10 people from our content team at our company, then I'm gonna like definitely not have my face open unless I'm talking or unless I feel super comfortable, because I just start looking at myself and going, you piece of shit. Like it's just constant for me. And there are some days when it's good and some days when it's bad. But I think one of the things that's hard to segue into our topic for today about dungeon mastering is that I think a lot of people expect that they're going to have to present something to a group, and the experience of seeing whatever they're putting out there reflected back at them is what initially terrifies, like, starting out Dungeon Masters. Because you plan something and then the combat goes off the rails and all of the, like, players are looking at you like, help us. And you're like, I'm staring into the mirror of my own abyss I created and I don't know how to fix it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Zoom window of the adventure I made for you, and I have my doubts about my own abilities.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Also, shout out to Know It All Sci Guy, who's putting out some comedy gold on Twitch. Twitch chat. So if you're over on the YouTube, hello. But come on over, hang out in the moderated chat. So talk to me, Emily, because you have been the forever happy to be player. I definitely don't want to stereotype you, but you are the person whose partner has been the DM for many of our games.
Yep.
And that is his preferred seat of power.
Yep.
And it hasn't been until recently that he's done more playing, I think, and enjoyed that. I mean, mostly because of me, am I right? No. But I think he's enjoyed playing, and it's you now are looking for a new way to engage in the hobby.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about that.
So I have always just been happy to be the player. I'm very much, it fits my energy. It fits what I've always been looking for in the game. Dungeon mastering seems like such a big time commitment, and like also you need a lot of focus. And I think one of my biggest challenges in playing is focus. Like I love my favorite things about D&D are like getting all my friends at the table and just like enjoying that experience with them, but also focus on the experience at hand, especially during times like combat can be a struggle for me. But I have this whole thing going in my head, like not to like delve like at Twitch, let me open up about all the things happening in my head, but I have like a journey happening, right? Where between the fact that I now work and have worked in the gaming industry for a couple of years. I work specifically in the tabletop RPG sector. Like I play, read, research, learn about, touch RPGs all day. Like I'm in licensing. That means that I'm working with the publishers on all these titles and having to keep a database in my head and learning learning the basics of a lot of different systems, but never like enough of them to be an expert. And I think a little bit of like gaming burnout is happening. So like these days, most of the games that I play are for work more so than they are for pleasure. And so it's hard for me to have the energy in games that I play for pleasure because it feels like work, which is the weird conundrum of working in the gaming industry. And I just want to enjoy it again. Like I know I like gaming is my life, and there's a reason why I got into this industry. There's like a love for tabletop RPGs that made me inspired to work here in the first place, and I kind of just want to re-spark that a little bit. So the more I started thinking about it, the more I was like, well, maybe if I try GMing and like really take the reins on the games, I'll feel more connected to it in a different way that I haven't before. It'll refresh that sense of excitement that I get from games, but also maybe the problem for my focus at the table will be solved as well, because I'll like, you have to be more engaged as the GM.
Yeah, you have nothing else you could do except focus on everything. I think that's smart, and I know it's something that like it's so interesting to me because again, I'm on the outside and you and Chris are like my best friends in the whole world. But you've always played a supporting role at the table as far as like you always want everybody to have the class they want to play. You'll fit in wherever you need to. Chris has always been like, I need to be engaged in anything or I go absolutely crazy, and now he's working on that and mellowing out a little bit in that way, and is more willing to sit as a player and enjoying it, right? And so I think it's really interesting to watch you guys sort of like medicate your needs at the table, if that makes sense, in these two different ways. And I think that's awesome. And so now that you know that's what you want to do, I mean, I know the answers to some of these questions, but I'd love for you to talk about, like, I got a message, right, from you saying, this is what I want to do. So tell us what you've prescribed for yourself, Doctor.
Yeah. So a couple things. When I decided that I wanted to GM, I also knew that I had a couple boundaries in mind. The first of which is that, well, I only want to do it for a group of players who I have a lot of trust with, who I know will like support me, embrace me, and love me, even if like we try this and then the experience
Even if it
ends
gets
up
wild.
like if it goes off the rails or it's not fun or I'm not good at it, like I know that there won't be a lot of pressure or like high stakes on the situation.
Yeah.
So the convenient setup for that is that we have a regular gaming group where we used to play every Monday night. And as you all know, Anne has a new dog puppy son in her life.
Yeah.
And so
You probably just heard him bark in the other room.
so she can't make it out to Monday night D&D anymore for a little while, like until like, we'll figure out what that life looks like in the future.
Yeah.
But so because we have a little bit of a break from our regular campaign, but still the opportunity for the rest of us to gather, I figured this is a good chance for me to try my hand at DMing, because it is with the group that I'm comfortable with. Majority of that group are also like newer players. They have fairly low expectations, and we're all happy to be there. Like, we're just like along for the ride. But also I'm choosing to set it up in a kind of a modular way so that when Anne can join, like if she wants to be a part of it, like we can just loop her right in. So a lot of different things went into the decision of the group there, but then also for the experience itself, I decided to try starting with Candlekeep Mysteries, because I'm pretty familiar with it, having had to work very closely with it for the release on Roll20.
Yeah.
And because of the structure of Candlekeep Mysteries, the way that it's got, first of all, a pretty cool like lore integrated structure for the whole book, with this interesting like narrative setting of the Candlekeep library, and the fact that the adventures are literally like just kind of bite-sized. Each thing can run as a one-shot and works its way progressively up through levels. I just decided that would be a cool way to do an almost like a less connected but more kind of episodic, I guess, approach to GMing, so that
it doesn't require that you track everyone's everything forever, because people are just kind of coming in. And it also is nice because if we've had people that have started to play characters at our table who are like, I want to do something else, I wish I'd rolled this instead, and then they could potentially bring in a different level 6 character in the next story.
Exactly.
Everyone can kind of explore a little bit.
I encourage people to make like silly characters, hopefully not too complex choices that will be hard for me to stay on top of, but things that they can have fun with. And then if they don't like it, like you said, like come into the next adventure with a different character who happens to be level 3, because we're on the level 3 adventure. So like, because it's not like going to be it's not going to be a 2-year long campaign, and it's not going to be the kind of thing where people like where I'm having to dole out experience by milestone or anything like that. Like, it will literally just progress per adventure. And I have a lot of fun ideas about how to make it work narratively in a way that makes me excited, which that's
really cool.
That's the cool part, right?
That's one of the things that I think for me is the most fun about elevating a pre-written campaign, right? Is I barely ever play them as written. I kind of read them and look at the themes and make sure the themes are and the characters, like the big NPCs and stuff, are people I like, and then I'm like, how can I make this work for me, or like what aspects do I want to bring out? And I think the thing that's so nice about the Candlekeep Mysteries, because I just finished playing through one of them as a part of our Descent into Avernus game that I'm playing every other Wednesday. But with Sai, Know It All Sai Guy in chat. And then I ran part of one of the Candlekeep adventures on my Patreon for my Patreon exclusive D&D that I run monthly. And it was really cool because I think, a lot of times, yes, there is a particular quest that you're trying to do, but a lot of them are just kind of like an exploration of a situation that's tied to lore from a book in the library at Candlekeep.
Yep.
And I think it's cool. I'm into it. So as far as, like, it sounds like your fears are wanting to keep it simple, right? And manageable and flexible. So what other, I guess, fears do you have about being a DM?
Well, there's the whole...
everything.
Yeah, like literally everything. Like there's the fact that I've played it for a very long time, but I don't have all of the good GMs I've played with, you, Chris, Jeremy, like there's all of the like GMs I've run streams with and everything. Right. They all have just kind of this Rolodex in their heads of some of the main, like the fact that you could be like, oh, how much damage does dagger do? And just like, oh, it's 1d4. Like just, it off the top of your head.
Yeah.
But more complex things than that too. And there are certainly some things that you learn just kind of by osmosis of playing in games, but I know that there's going to be a lot of like, as I like search frantically through the books to try to find answers to people's questions or to see how things resolve. And I feel like really great GMs kind of keep that immersion and keep the flow going because they can very seamlessly improvise from moment to moment through a combination of like attention to what their players are doing, but also just general knowledge of the world that they're in and the adventure content itself.
Well, I think part of that, like, to put you at ease a little bit, I think don't look at the Anne behind the curtain, I guess, but here she is. A lot of it is smoke and mirrors, right? Because I keep a bunch of notes for, like, I can never remember what the rules for grapple are, or like things like that are so easy. And the fact that you can kind of just type in grapple D&D 5e and the rules are going to pop up right there on your computer without having to like stressfully flip through books, makes it a lot easier to find the answers to some of those questions than it might have been before D&D Beyond. It's never been easier. Before the Roll20 compendium.
Yeah.
And like I use the Roll20 spell compendium literally every day of my life.
Yeah.
Because it's the easiest way for me to just figure out how a spell works right then and there.
Yeah.
I'm constantly referring to it.
That's that's like 100% a tool I'm going to be using. I mean, I'm fortunate as a Roll20 employee. I have access to literally every book ever at the touch of my mouse. That didn't work out well, but you get it. Like, so I will definitely have my laptop with that pulled up for the whole thing, because it will be faster than accessing the books for sure. And
the lore stuff, I think. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Please.
No, I mean that was basically it. But please continue.
Yeah. The other facet of your concern, which is like, how do people just like know it? The answer is that I push the story into lore that I'm genuinely interested in, and that's what I've spent the most time preparing. Less so like the rules, because that's been created for me a lot of the time, either because I'm running a pre-written campaign or I've gone into Kobold Fight Club or an encounter builder and had things suggested for me of a particular environment and combat level. Like I am not a GM who thinks they are super good at making monsters. I've definitely done it, and I've actually done it professionally, but I don't like to do that on the fly. It's something I take more time in because I'm always worried about like, if the characters do everything they're supposed to do, then is it a challenging but fair fight? Is there a way they can win something, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think your concerns are totally valid. I think there's a lot less planning than you think going on behind the scenes a lot of the time. Like,
could be.
Yeah.
It could definitely be. I think too, like, so I mean, when we say that I've never DM'd before, it's only like the tiniest little lie because, as Anne knows, I have DM'd before, for a one shot because we were doing a series. Like, I guess after we'd done our first ever campaign, I think what was it? We transitioned to like we were each gonna try DMing a one shot to see how that felt.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you DM'd?
I don't think I DM'd that.
Well, we each did one. Like,
wait, when was this?
This was like back in the day when we were playing Pathfinder and 3.5.
I wasn't in that group. Like, I think I played, right, and then I played in the 4E game, right, like the original 3.5 where I was a
one
siren.
I'm thinking of, the 4E one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then did I? Maybe I just remember being a fox in one of the one shots. That's all I remember. I don't know that I actually felt I was ready to DM at that time.
Oh, maybe.
I think the first time I dungeon mastered something was, I don't know, maybe it was that. I don't remember. I do remember being insanely stressed out. I remember being insanely stressed out.
But I do. So I GM'd a one shot during that nebulous experiment, and all I remember it was pretty simple, literal dungeon crawl, and I remember I put a gelatinous cube just because I love gelatinous cubes.
Yeah,
and I ended up being so like I just threw all the rules of the gelatinous cube encounter out the window because it would have killed everyone in like 2 seconds, and
that'll happen.
as people were getting into the combat, I just like on the fly adjusted everything, and I had way more fun just like making shit up and like making I guess not spoilers, but to pull back the curtain on if you remember that experience at all, like I literally just every roll I would just would say no, you missed, or like I would just kind of figure out what was the more fun thing based on what the person said or was doing, and just freaking made it up. I think in the end, like, it worked out that everyone ran away. They got out like at the last minute. I honestly, it's so long ago, I don't recall, but I do remember that I just took the rules and went, like, I didn't care. And so I think I know that there's a certain element of doing that on occasion to like it's you've got to feel out the space and the time that your players are having. But I guess I'm a little worried that I'm so rules light that I will do that a lot, and I don't want to break the game. Like, I want people to have fun. I don't want people to feel like encounters are useless,
meaningless because they don't know. I mean, I think that is something to be like, if you were going to choose something to be concerned about, I think that's a good thing to focus your energy on, is just making sure that there's enough structure there so that things are based on facts, not feelings, if that makes sense. And you can adjudicate fairly what's going on. But then on the other hand, like, the immense amount of flexibility you have as a performer and a storyteller is like, that's your bread and butter. And if you need to have, an environmental effect, like a bunch of water flooding through a stone wall to break off an encounter that is going south that you didn't mean to go south, like, then do that. Like, then they have a skill encounter to try and like get out of that. But I also think, I know I say this to Chris every time. I think he's like mildly offended that I do it, but like, Chris doesn't kill people. And it's not that I like killing NPCs. I just like for things to have consequences. And I think, or killing NPCs, killing characters, or killing anybody.
Just killing.
Just killing. Murder, straight up murder.
Chris doesn't kill anyone. What is his problem?
He doesn't kill anybody, and then he gets like scared to do it, and except for me, I've been killed by Chris. But in a situation where I knew what I was doing, you know what I mean? Like, and I felt that was totally fair. Like, I was definitely emotional in that moment because I was like, I think this is the furthest from home I've ever been. But yeah, I think there's this fear of like, oh God, I'm gonna kill them all. And you have to split the difference between those, frankly, to me, weird DMs who are like, I'm gonna kill every one of you. Where I'm like, why are you here? Like, why did you come here?
It's like,
to
it's
this
not a
table?
versus game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to tell anybody their fun is wrong, but that's not why I come to the table as a player or a DM. But I do think, you know, making death matter, making people feel like it meant something is important in some way, whether that's something that happens after the encounter or during the encounter, giving them like, you know, like I like to describe, depending on people's like various lines and veils, almost like what's happening during their death saves. And sometimes I like throw that into visions of things to do with their backstory or things like that I pull out and work with them on. And sometimes it'll be something I decide, or I'll be like, what do you imagine, you know, this person is seeing now that they're this much closer to death?
Yeah.
And I think that gives them at least a modicum of control of the storytelling, even though the result is determined by the dice. And then the death of a character can lead to some incredible roleplay and awesome moments moving forward. And so when you're thinking about what do I do with this, you know, battle, think people are dying, people are, you know, this seems really hard. Oh no, I didn't plan for this.
Yeah.
Just remember that, you know, as long as you feel like what's happening is adjudicated fairly and balanced fairly, which it should be for the most part when you run a game that's already been like play tested and designed by WotC or a third party, if you're buying something off of DM's Guild, you know, that's a great reason to use a pre-written campaign if you're not used to balancing encounters on your own.
Yeah.
And kind of trust that and understand that some things aren't meant to be escaped by everybody. And I think you'll be in a great situation because you're doing this kind of episodic thing where if people die, like there's an opportunity for people to bring in somebody new anyways. And that will divorce you a little bit from it. But I would, I would just take a deep breath and let it go.
I would say that this setting will probably make it easier for me to embrace something like character death. Because of the like modular nature of it, and the way that I'm designing it so that people can just bring in a new character when they want. I think too, I have died at Chris's hands on a couple of occasions.
I've done it,
but I guess they've all been in one shots, and I'm like a personal fan of like going all out for especially if it's like in a horror game one shot. You know, where like you can just take a lot of risks and feel like as the player things are a little bit. That's what you would do. Yeah, exactly. Like that's literally what you would do.
No one's too precious with their lives in the way that we are in a campaign where like we've been doing this forever. Like you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
That's why I love horror games. Anyways, continue. That's like a whole other podcast.
So we add that to the list.
For Halloween, we'll do like why we like horror RPGs, I think.
So I think I have learned some. It's not that I haven't gotten to experience character death or that I haven't seen situations where it can be done well. I guess it's a little bit like. I think there's a difference. There's a story that can be told from a character dying stupidly at the hands of a kobold, you know, versus in the big Tiamat fight. You know what I mean?
Totally. I agree. There is a lot of feelings about character death in the chat, so let's address it. Everybody. Navy Phoenix says that they also struggle and are uncomfortable with killing characters too. We'll let it happen, but it's difficult, right? So I think that we're definitely in agreement about that. Snapdad agrees that it should mean something for the players to embrace that what they do in the world matters. And Shift 70 Up, what's up? What's up? I don't feel like I've seen you in chat before. Welcome to the Baby Bard. Stick around. The way I look at it is that you are in a high-risk profession and death should be a part of it. Agree. Yeah. I totally agree with that. We have talked about this a couple of times, but I often get people to answer 3 important questions rather than sending me like a giant backstory. I really only need 3 things from you starting out. I need to know what would you kill to have or to know, who wants to keep you from achieving that, and why God would you want to be an adventurer? it's like the most high risk profession there is. And I feel like if you can answer those questions, you can create active choices for yourself at the table. Let's see. Characters who were dead and then live again. Oh God. I'm scrolling up. Characters who are dead and live again can be moving, especially when participants and viewers only know that an NPC only knew that NPC is an undead. Oh, cool. Yeah, I totally hear that. Know-it-all says, "Damn those kobolds and their stupid traps." So, yep.
Damn them. Damn them.
And Matosis, what's up? How are you? Matosis says, "I'm honestly a fan of character death. Not that characters should die willy-nilly, but it can provide major role-playing moments and establish a sense of real danger." Yeah. I think you understand that, right? It's really hard when you're new to feel like, oh God, did I break the game? Am I supposed to be killing them? That was the feeling I used to get before I knew the long winter.
Yeah, it's something that I don't like. I would never want my players to feel like it's completely off the table and like there are no stakes. But I would want to make sure if it happens, that it's an earned moment, I guess, or an unearned moment that tells an interesting story. Yeah.
So if you weren't, you chose obviously 5e, which you're tremendously experienced with, but you play a lot of other systems. So why, if you're so nervous about, I'm not challenging you, I'm just curious. Why, if you're so nervous about like feeling a need to have like a good mastery of the basic rules, and not have to get frazzled by looking stuff up, would you not choose a more rules light system?
Well, I think because there are a lot of really great like rules light systems that are pretty easy to pick up, but because especially with this group, it's a lot of first time tabletop RPG players. I say a lot. It's like, I don't know, what are we, like 35 to 40% of the group is new players. Teaching a new system while learning a new system is always difficult. And I want to feel confidence behind the screen is the thing I'm concerned about, and I am confident. I'm more confident in D&D 5e in my ability to tell other people how to play it and how to play it myself than I am in any other system.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions. One of them is from Know-It-All Sci Guy, which is about if you did have the time and energy to create your own homebrewed campaign, do you have ideas for what that could look like? And on top of that, I also have an idea, because you mentioned that like there are things about Candlekeep that you're really excited, like that drew you to it specifically. So I'd love to know the answer to both of those questions. Like, what do you look for in a campaign when you're choosing one that's pre-written, and what would you play if you could do everything yourself?
Yeah. So for Know-It-All Sci Guy's question, I haven't really given much thought to doing like a homebrew campaign, because I specifically chose something that like writes out the whole adventure for you from start to finish, because I didn't want to be relied upon to do the prep work. Like, I specifically wanted to...
I don't want that!
I wanted to be able to just like refer to the book as much as possible. And then maybe as I'm getting my feet, I'll get more creative.
Right.
I have no concerns about like my improv abilities in the moment, but it's more like the guiding the adventure content in a way that is accessible to players, but also is like balanced and rewarding
Yeah.
and all of that. Like I trust the professionals at Wizards of the Coast to like kind of do that for me,
Yeah.
and I will serve that lovingly to my
Mhm.
players. That being said, I think if I were to do something more home brewy, it would definitely probably it would encourage like either unique forms of combat or like non-combat combat. Like I don't know what that looks
Yeah.
like, but it would be some form. It would basically like encourage homebrew classes that were maybe not as combat focused, to kind of lean more into the RP and fun character elements of the game.
Yeah.
It'd probably be like a magical girl campaign, honestly, if I'm thinking about it.
Yes,
Like, it'd be
I'm there. I'm throw my dog out a window. I'm not gonna do that. I love my dog, but I just really want to play in that game. So you can't play it for like at least another, I don't know, 2 months.
All right, great. So I'll get really good at DMing, and then I'm gonna organize a magical girl homebrew campaign. And Anne, you're 100% a part of it.
Yes, I'm playing Sailor Jupiter. The end.
Happening.
Shan TV, hello, welcome. And Give Me an Axe, hello, welcome to stream. Glad you made it through the pre-roll ad. You can avoid those by subscribing. Just a thing. Everybody has a free subscription if you have Amazon Prime and you haven't applied it to a channel yet. Just like
It's just there.
Nobody asked me, but I would do some sort of seafaring campaign where maybe everyone was a mermaid.
Yeah, but
Mermaid pirates.
that'd be difficult
Boom.
because it all would have to take place in the water.
Yeah, well, no, but you see, in the seminal classic television show H2O, Just Add Water, you see, you're dealing with land girls who are transformed into mermaids.
Oh, I see. There's a
upon the
transformational.
moment.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
In a way, it is a magical girl show. But I don't want to steal your thunder. There's enough magic to go around.
Yeah, there is.
We've been watching that on the Discord, by the way. So anybody who's here and wants to watch a ridiculous show about mermaids, come on in. Water's fine. Unless you don't want to be turned into a mermaid, in which case water bad. Water very bad. But yeah, I would want to do something like that. I have a hard time. For me, my scope is, I think my challenge as a dungeon master is I want to get to the cool stuff that I planned for people so bad that I have a hard time letting things germinate. Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
That's a big challenge that I have because I just want to get people to like the reveal. But if all I'm ever doing is revealing, then suddenly I've revealed everything that I had. So you got to learn to kind of tamp that down. CTVDW says, "What's that? H2O?" Yes.
Yeah.
Just look up H2O, Just Add Water, and prepare to be astounded. It is an Australian Disney Channel show. It is everything, and it's great. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 mermaids agree that it's great. But yeah, I think planning a campaign from scratch, I can come up with a good arc, if that makes sense. Like an arc for people from 1 to 5. I think that I would have that in me. When I imagine building something like, Storm King's Thunder, that's such a sandboxy world and it goes from levels 1 to 10, that starts to scare me. Lost Mines of Phandelver sits more easily in my head in terms of like the length of an experience that I could write out. But I'm amazed when I see dungeon masters plan these huge campaigns that are like 3 to 6 arcs and they take years to play through.
Yeah,
that terrifies
that
me.
is amazing and terrifying, and specifically what I was avoiding having the pressure to do. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I will very gladly ask all my
Yeah.
players to be college students who are going on a trip to the Candlekeep Library, and things are going to happen to
Yes.
them, and that's
And their lives will be forever changed.
literally.
Candlekeep University. Amazing. Candlekeep U. I need the t-shirts now. T-shirts when? Shan TV says, I do have a question if it has not been asked and answered, and it hasn't, so I'll continue to ask it. By the way, if you guys have questions for us about dungeon mastering or being new to dungeon mastering or like challenges or you want to anything, our favorite colors, feel free to ask them in chat.
You'll never guess what mine is.
You'll never guess what mine is. Suck it. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Shan TV says, I haven't DM'd in 16 years, and I'm prepping for a game next month. How do you keep players from feeling a need to beat the game and collect all the gold and items in sight from house to house without beating them down and destroying the fun of the game for them? Well, I think that depends on the players that you're playing with. I don't think it has ever occurred to me to beat the game as a player.
Yeah. Although we do have a friend who was really invested in beating the game,
Yeah.
but I don't think she understood quite how D&D worked.
I think if you ask players those 3 questions that I brought up before in their prep of what would you kill to have or to know, who wants to see you thwarted from ever achieving your greatest goal, right? And then why would you enter this incredibly dangerous line of work? That keeps people focused on what they want rather than naturally I want every piece of gold and every magical item I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
I think if you focus, like, create more of a cinematic energy of like, we have to save the world, or we have to save this person we like, or, you know, those things that are like emotional drives. It keeps people from being like, well, actually, let me get out my abacus and see how much we can gain if we melt the silver down and silver our weapons that way. Like, I mean, that'll still happen.
It will. You're like, I think at the end of the day, like, I say never having GM'd and just stepping in to answer your question about how to GM. This goes back to the theme of what comes up every time we have these conversations every week, which is like, whatever bakes your cookie is like the most important thing is that everyone's playing the game they want to collaboratively and safely for everyone and having a good time. Like, I think if you happen to be GMing for a group of players who are really into like collecting loot and you know, completing dungeons, like a checking off a quest log, like, then there you can lean into that love and try to make it fun for them. I know, for example, I know the group I'm gonna play for, or DM for, is loves being kind of silly, like, especially like, I would say that Anne often is the player in our group that holds the group together with the investment in backstory, and so it's
a really nice way of saying it.
So in terms of,
she's the only one who's crazy enough to cry about every decision she ever has to make.
So with her absence being kind of the catalyst for this particular group, I know that I'm playing with a bunch of people who are into it to just like kind of have a good time and like not as like they pick up on backstory and on and like follow along with RP as it comes, but they're not super focused.
They're
on
super front story driven.
Exactly. Group. So I know that I can just kind of, I'm not like forcing a backstory on these players, but like I said, I am prescribing that you're college students. Like there are a couple of things that I'm like, this has to apply to your character to make what I want to do work, and we're gonna have fun from there. And I also know that like combat is like not the priority for many of them. Like I'm taking a lot of those things into account as I plan what it is that we're doing, and definitely trying to like play for my audience. So I think if you've got like super crunchy players, or if you've got players who are really into like just mowing down enemies and collecting loot, there's ways to sort of alter what you're doing to make it more appealing for them.
Totally. I agree. Also, hi Caldefron46, thanks for that subscription, Dad. Everybody say hi to my dad. What's up?
Hi Caldefron.
Guys, we have so many new people coming and hanging out. This is so cool. Thank you guys so much. If you're new here, I'm Ann Richmond, aka Hearth Singer, the head bard in charge. This is my channel, and I make TTRPG content here and on the YouTube. So go ahead and give me a follow. Stick around join our Discord if you're looking for other like-minded folks who enjoy chatting about tabletop RPGs and all they have to offer the world. I'm throwing our Discord in chat, and you can see my YouTube there as well. Yeah, I think that makes sense. And tone, all of this comes back to the question of like, how do you make people feel like they don't need to win? That's the type of players that you have, the game they want to play, and also the tone that you should be a part of that conversation. Like, in many ways, being a dungeon master is about customer service, but you also are a player at the table. You need to serve yourself. And so it's important for you to be able to, I guess, express to your players like, hey, these are the themes I want to use.
Yeah.
Like, a really good example for me, and thank you, Moonshreak, on the hair compliment. We are empowered by our magical girl hair.
We are.
For sure.
This is my homebrew hair.
So amazing. I don't know why that got me. That would be such a good brand of like D&D inspired.
Oh my god, that would
color.
be really good.
Okay, well, nobody.
All right, no, I'm gonna copyright it.
Emily, go
This is
copyright
patent
claim that right
office,
now.
I don't know.
We wouldn't know anything.
I don't know
We wouldn't
anything
the
about
first.
starting
We
a
would
business.
burn people's hair off. That's what we would do. We'd be like, it's a fireball. I don't know. So, Jesus, what were we talking about? We were talking about setting the tone. Ah, yes. So a really good example of me setting the tone for the table is I wanted to run the Rise of Tiamat. And in the current, when we started political environment, I noticed a lot of like extremist and cultish behavior happening in our politics that we're in the US, right? And so for me, I really wanted to grapple with that in the story. And I know that a lot of people play D&D to not deal with their everyday troubles and woes. And so I made it clear to them, like, if I run this story, I want to talk about religion and cults and the way that cults are able to shape the mind of everyday hardworking people and warp their perceptions. And if that is not a theme that you want to play in, then this is probably not the game for you, right? Bye, Pocket Ranger. Thanks for stopping by. I know you are always at the whims of your time zone, so I appreciate you stopping by. But yeah, so it's as important for you to say that as it is for a player coming in to be like, my line is, you know, I don't want any violence against children, you know, things like that. So being able to like speak your truth and ask for what you need from everybody at the table is important. And if you want a cinematic experience that is about the emotion of a story, then you should express that to your players and hope that they're interested in that too. Yeah. So I hope our answer wasn't you figure it out with your players, but that is kind of like most of the roads that lead to quote unquote Rome in this chat are always about like, you should talk to your players.
Communication is important. Yeah.
Playing Dungeons and Dragons is like dating 5 people. Not know them. There's a lot of communication, a lot of fierce conversation. So let's talk about that, because I know you hate conflict. I know you're willing to have difficult conversations, and obviously, like, you and I have been best friends for a really long time, have talked about just about anything. I don't think we've ever yelled at each other, screamed at each other, but we've certainly like disagreed with each other and had arguments over how we thought things should be handled in certain situations. So I'm curious for you, like, how are you prepared to face that aspect of the game? Is that something you've thought about at all?
Well, I guess my counter question to you would be like, what would a situation like that be? Because I'm trying to imagine like taking like the fact that I am controlling players that are trying to I'm controlling characters that are trying to kill my players as like a part of the job. Taking that part out of the equation, other than things like contesting rules, what kind of conflict am I in for?
What should I be afraid of?
Tell me what I'm in for.
Sometimes players, like conversations that I've had with Chris in the past or with other DMs have been like, hey, it seems like you know, a really good one was at our table when I was like, guys, I feel like my character is being targeted sometimes for choices I've made and sometimes just because it's the thing that is like the funniest to do at the time, and like I'm just not emotionally in a place where I can be the butt of every joke all the time, right? And having to be that person who starts those conversations can be really emotionally draining, but it should be on everybody to have them, right? But you're not always that lucky. So I guess like something for me that Chris has gotten so much better at and really means a lot to me is like he will often, when he sees those dynamics emerging or sees someone disconnect at the table because of something that was said or whatever the case may be, like it's not like he'll stop the game in its tracks, but he'll be like, why do you guys like make this decision? And a lot of times it's the job of the DM as the impartial party to point that stuff out before it escalates and becomes personal. I don't think that's something that necessarily is bound to happen at our table because we've all known each other for so long, but you never know. I mean,
that's a good point. I think, not to just like repeat our answer to the last question, but I think communication is a key part of this too, and willingness to be upfront, to be proactive about communication. And so a little bit of a built-in safety net I have there, which is not to say like I've got this all figured out, but
I'm perfect. Don't
by
question
any
me.
means. Like the whole reason we're having this conversation is I was like, oh no, I want to do this and I'm scared. I need to know more things. But because it is my first time GMing, because it's going to be an introductory experience for me, and because I'm specifically doing it with the safety net, like a group of safe friends, I want to conclude each session with some pretty like in-depth talks about like, how was that? Like, those of you here who've DM'd, give me feedback, rate me. You know what I mean? Like literally, like tell me,
rate this adventure.
Would you have done these things? Would you have done stuff differently? Or like, did you like anything I did? Or not like love me, but you know, just general feedback. And then for the players, like, what was that experience like? And just kind of check in at the end of each session and see how things are going, because you know, we may like there is a very real world in which real potential world in which we do this for like 3 sessions, and I'm like, you know what, I do not enjoy this.
I hate this. I'm out.
We're not going to do anymore. The end. But I hope that doesn't happen, especially if people get really invested in the story and their characters. Like, I wouldn't want to do that to people, but that is a potential future.
I know there's a lot of really, not to be like, buy my book. There's a lot of really great advice for this on my YouTube channel, so I'm just going to throw it in chat one more time. Feel free to, we just passed 600 subscribers on YouTube, which is super cool. But suffice to say, my big kind of answer to the question I posed to you is exactly what you're talking about. Create time for feedback at the table, and also like, you and I are usually pretty ready to like talk about it if something happens. It's taken me a really long time to learn that not everybody is ready to talk about it right away. And so the second caveat I have for you is to give office hours. And be like, listen, I'd love to hear what you thought, like rate it, something you loved and something you wish had been a little bit different, if you have that. And then if that is, you know, rosebud thorn, as we used to say, which you should absolutely explain when I finish my sentence here. But have that, and then say, and guys, if anybody, just continually remind people, if anybody wants to talk in private, like, feel free to message me during the week. If I don't answer you right away, it's because I work till 6 or whatever it is. Like, set your boundaries. You definitely don't want people being like, well, hello, my name is Karen, and I didn't like the game, wall of text 5 days in a row. I think can be like really detrimental to a dungeon master's health and really not your responsibility. But yeah. No one else says talk about your problems. No. One must bury their feelings deep down and let them out slowly in a very passive-aggressive manner.
You're right. That's what I'll do.
That's great advice, know-it-all. Thank God you were here. So talk about Rosebud Thorn, because I feel like we used to work at the New York Renaissance Fair, RIP, our careers in Ren Fair.
In Ren Fairening.
In Ren Fairening. We were Ren fairies. I wish. Why do they call them Rennies and not Ren fairies?
Because there's actually fairies at the Ren Fair, so it gets confusing.
You're right. There's an IP disagreement. I get it. What if there were fairy lawyers? Okay, that's a whole one shot. Good night. I have to go think about that. But what do you used to take us through like an assessment of the weekend called Rosebud Thorn, and I'd love to hear about it right now because I think it could be applicable.
The concept of Rosebud Thorn. Hold on, my phone is ringing. That's probably not important.
Hello? Are you? We're on Around the Hearth.
The concept of Rosebud Thorn is that at the conclusion of, so the way we used it for Ren Fairs, at the conclusion of the Ren Fair weekend, in the car ride home or around the campfire at the end of the night or whatever, we would ask each other, Rosebud Thorn. You would assess the weekend or the day's performance with the rose, i.e. the best, most beautiful thing that happened to you, the story you have to share, the moment that really touched you. Bud, which is the thing that you're looking forward to the most, like the thing that is kind of just starting or is about to come to fruition, or what you can't wait to revisit again, or basically what you're looking forward to. And the thorn, the thing that pricked you, the thing that that stood out as like the I wouldn't go like I don't like to veer super emotional with it, like the thing that you can't get over, but like the little thing that just like upset you and you just gotta vent about it. It's my thorn.
It's like a thorn that got in your leggings on a long walk. This is way too descriptive. I love it. I think it's great, and I think it would be such a cool way to describe the experience of a one shot for sure. Like Rosebud Thorn for one shots. That's amazing. 10 out of 10. Emily Floyd, give her a hand. What's up, Stabby Tabby Cat? Welcome. Guys, we are just about to wrap things up, but before we do, welcome back, Moonshreek. Oh, no. Don't worry, we're actually. We're leaving. We're good. We're not. We're leaving. We are gonna leave here, but before that, we're gonna do a little giveaway. I have absolutely adored having a conversation with Emily Floyd because she is my best friend, and I love her.
I love you too.
With everything that happens in the world, we don't often just get to like have a conversation.
It's true. We don't just get to sit and chat.
We have to share our time with other people. Ew. No.
And we just shared this time with like 30 other people.
Okay. Shh. Look into my eyes. Everybody in chat, look away for a second. Okay, it's just us. Okay, now it's us and everybody else again.
Great.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are going to do a giveaway, so don't go anywhere. We are going to give away an Eldritch Foundry customized miniature. Before, I've given away STLs, which are like 3D printing files, so then you can send it to your favorite 3D printer or 3D print it yourself if you have a 3D printer you can use at your disposal. But we are going to do a little giveaway here, and it is going to be a keyword giveaway. The subscribers to my channel get double the chances to win. The keyword is Rosebud Thorn, all one word. So go ahead and enter that in chat once, and then after we finish our little end of show diatribe here, we'll roll for the winner, and I will contact them and get them their miniature.
Yay!
All right. So with that being said, this is my channel. I'm Ann Richmond, and I'm so tired. That's it. I'm sorry. That's just what came to mind. I'm Ann Richmond. This is my channel. I make tabletop RPG content, primarily D&D, but some Pathfinder and Starfinder content as well here at twitch.tv/HearthSingerGames and over on youtube.com/Ann Richmond. You can find all those links in the info section below as well. I am also a professional dungeon master, and I run monthly games for my patrons. Our monthly game for May is happening tomorrow. I couldn't be more excited. So check out the Patreon to see if it is something that you want to do. All the money from the Patreon supports things like getting new cameras for me or setting up more, I guess, cool things for the the games that I run for, like buying different books and adventures and things like that to run games for the patrons and things like that. So it's an awesome way to support the content if you like it. Hair dyes. Yeah, sadly, I don't have any hair dye tutorials, although on my YouTube picture, on my YouTube page, there is a vlog of myself and our friend Ariel dyeing my hair bright pink, kind of more like the color Emily has right now.
It's probably like the same dye.
It could be.
Yeah.
It very well could be. So Emily, tell the people where they can find you, what you do, and all that jazz.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily. I work at Roll20 as the director of licensing. It's a virtual tabletop. If you are looking to play online games like D&D with your friends, tabletop games like D&D with your friends online, you should check it out. It's free to make an account. Go take a look. And I'm back here every week, so like if questions come up, just next Friday, ask me questions.
Yeah.
Also, you can find me on social media at Emily the Spoon on all the channels, and every Friday night I do this show here on Hearth Games, and then I also do a World of Darkness show on Q Times hosted by B. Dave Walters. So right now we're doing Mage the
Awakening.
It's not called Mage the Awakening, actually. It's called Mage the Ascension.
Oh,
because
shit.
there's two different versions. It's the World of Darkness is
sorry.
very complicated.
I got excited.
I know,
and
because
then-
we've played
and then
Mage
it was
the
over.
Awakening before.
I know, we did,
That
we
was a
did.
long time ago. So
That's true.
yeah, that's a little bit about me. And you know,
Yeah.
best friends with Anne since 2008.
Yeah, that's how we know each other.
Yeah.
We're like the realest of homies. So don't come for our friendship. It's not fake for views. Guys, we are about to roll off our giveaway. But I did want to say, if you're interested, this show is every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. There's also an awesome show that I do on Thursdays where it's super chill. It is an Eldritch Foundry sponsored stream where I build characters, and those characters will then be available for you to order off of Eldritch Foundry, which is really, really awesome. So yesterday we did Esmeralda, my interpretation of Esmeralda Davenir from The Curse of Strahd, and she's also on the cover of the new Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. She's like a character I super love. And yeah, so make sure you check the VOD for that. It's on YouTube. It's also here on Twitch. And join us because I'm going to try and build more of like characters from chat, I guess, if people can send me descriptions of their characters. So make sure you're on the Discord. If you're not, join us there because I'll want to be collecting character descriptions so that I can start trying to build my interpretation of people's characters on Thursdays. Eventually, those miniatures will be coming here into my hands where I will unveil them on the stream and paint them and be just Bob Ross in it like I used to in the good old days. So with that, let's go ahead and roll off this giveaway.
Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win?
It says there's no eligible people. Hold on.
No, there's tons.
Yeah.
They all said the thing.
I know. I saw. I don't know why I did that. Hold on, let me try again. Why are you the way that you are? Not you, just people.
I mean, I'm this way for a lot of reasons. I was born in South Carolina, and I grew up
And
on
then
a
I grew
farm, and
Wow, this is really.
you know,
I feel like I'm really trying.
conservative.
Know-it-all side guy.
Okay, great.
Winner. Okay, sorry. You're doing great. Sorry, it was yeah. What? You've won.
You did
You
it.
won. It's all good. We all did it. Twice. This is rigged. It's not. It's definitely not.
Why would you call out the system for being rigged?
Yeah, when you win.
When you're
the
winning.
reason you keep winning is because you keep subscribing, and subscribers are 2 times as lucky to win as the common folk who are also very supportive and awesome. Well, if you want to give it away to somebody else, we can.
Yeah, now's the
That
time
can happen.
to make that
but
call.
I need to
But
know
nobody
now.
will judge you for wanting to keep the sweet thing that you won. Give it away.
Give it a ways. Okay.
Roll
all right.
that beautiful
All right,
bean
everybody.
footage again.
Roll it and count the front 46. Now it seems even more rigged because that's my dad. All right, he's like, give it away. Okay. Oh man, what a time to be alive. I feel like I'm like rolling CTVDW. you. That's perfect. Welcome to the channel. You're new. And my dad will never paint that miniature as much as I'm sure he will love making it. But that's awesome. Thank you guys so much for being so generous to the new baby bards in chat. It's awesome. We've had such a great crowd here. Have a great rest of your night. We're going to find somebody to raid. But in the meantime, get out there and live your quest life. Bye.